Basketball is very good. 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 Basketball is very good.
Hello, and welcome to the Ringer NBA show. It's Group Chat, the preferred podcast of blog boys and blog girls everywhere. Paulo Uggetti.
What's up?
Justin Verrier.
Howdy.
Chris Ryan. We are actually live on Periscope right now to talk about Kyrie Irving, who will now, we found out from, you do it. You got to do it. It's your bit.
Adrian Wojnarowski.
Love it. Woj bomb, Kyrie. In the aftermath of the left knee surgery, Boston Celtics All-Star guard Kyrie Irving will miss the rest of the regular season and playoffs, league sources told ESPN. Kyrie's got a bad left knee. Like, that is now the case. And, when this trade happened, it was the Celtics we're getting an All NBA point guard, an NBA Finals hero, a guy to lead their franchise to where they want it to go back to the top of the mountain. And now there's like actually like real concerns that like both of the major pieces in this trade are damaged goods. I'm actually not, I'm not, there's no like Philadelphia bullshit going on here. Like,
really?
I'm serious. The list of what's happened to Kyrie's left knee since he came into the league is daunting. He's got tendonitis. He's fractured the kneecap. I think the second knee surgery he's had on this knee. He missed the last couple of weeks, and it looks like he's not going to be able to come back. Now, Justin, you were just saying that there is some talk about the Celtics are going to get some second opinions here.
It seems like it.
Yeah. Well, it went from what I found shocking is that it went from a minimally invasive procedure, which is what they called it at first, to now in the Woj report it says that they're going to look for other options to see how to treat the left knee.
There are no minimally invasive procedures.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
procedures and there's not
Right.
procedures.
That's the takeaway from this, especially when, as you mentioned, just the laundry list that Kyrie has like kind of had with his knee.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the big question going forward is how much to react or overreact here, because as you mentioned, like, is this the type of thing that could potentially change the future of the Boston Celtics, or is it more of a precautionary measure? They looked at the landscape, said that maybe this isn't our year, and we'll just put them on ice for now and start again new with Gordon Hayward, Kyrie, and potentially another draft pick to go with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I do find annoying about this is that even if the worst case scenario comes out and you've basically got Kyrie Irving who is going to have to compensate for a left knee that always might give out on him or give him trouble, the Celtics are still in a pretty good position because they do have those draft picks, because they do have somebody like Tatum, because they do seem to be able to manufacture guard talent out of late first round, early second round, or undrafted players, whether it's Terry Rozier, whether it's Shane Larkin, like the guys who were they playing last night?
Yeah, it's like Kadeem Allen is getting some minutes out there. So that's like a deep Arizona basketball cut from a few years back.
Yeah.
Shemi Oil,
IT last year.
Yeah,
I mean,
IT
right.
last
Essentially
year.
in that role.
Now you bring up IT, and Haley was just talking about this on our Slack. I thought this was pretty interesting, is this whole thing sitting Kyrie, and despite all the Instagram videos of Gordon Hayward wearing his hat backwards and taking 19-footers, maybe a little bit more caution on Boston's part this year. You know what I mean? Not rushing people back, not putting people in a situation where they might do some long-term damage. Isaiah Thomas obviously came back for the Celtics last year, or played through a hip injury last year for the Celtics in the playoffs, was traded to Cleveland. I'm not a doctor. You could make the argument that he came back a little too early for Cleveland. Maybe he was concerned about getting some tape going for this season so that he could get his free agency contract. Was traded to the Lakers and is now going to miss the rest of the season after re-injuring his hip. Maybe Boston and maybe Kyrie are playing it a little safer this year.
Yeah, I would look at it just from the Celtics perspective. It seems like everyone last summer and even before that were pushing them to make the move. And it seemed like they had set themselves up really well in order to make the right move. Mm-hmm. And they decided after they didn't get Paul George, they didn't get Jimmy Butler, to go all in on Kyrie. And I think the optimist perspective was just, this is a guy who's still super young. He has proven himself in the finals. He has another ceiling to really hit here. Now we're seeing kind of the downside of kind of pushing your chips all in on one guy already, as opposed to maybe waiting another year, waiting for an Anthony Davis, waiting for someone else to kind of shake free. The Celtics really are who they are, and they can still make moves on top of that. But it does start, you do start to wonder, is this the team that we thought could rule the East for the next couple of years?
I mean, I don't think it's a situation where they're should freak out or it's like a doom and gloom situation, because Gordon Hayward, still coming back. And I think that kind of set the narrative for the season, and people love to say this because it's kind of like, okay, since Gordon Hayward got hurt in the first game of the season, it changes from, oh, this could be our year to, let's just see where Brad Stevens can lead us with this ragtag group of, players, and then just kind of play for next year. But now I think the problematic part is the recurring Kyrie thing, which is what you're talking about. I think, how that factors into how much of a burden Gordon Hayward has to take when he comes back, or, how it all progresses going forward. But I still think they have so many assets and so many.
Yeah, let's not cry.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah, they've got two of the best young wings in the game with Jalen and Jason. They still have a piece of that Lakers pick whenever it winds up conveying to them, depending on what happens in the lottery. They've got that 2019 Memphis pick, could be the first pick in the draft for all we know. They've also got this probably one of the top 3 or 4 coaches in the league who seems to be able to take guys undervalued players and make them into NBA talents. I mean, does a Terry Rozier-led Boston Celtics have a shot against the Miami Heat is the big question.
Yeah,
or against the Washington Wizards, which is who they're scheduled to, like, if the season ended today, they'd have those guys.
I mean, I think you frame it as not a Terry Rozier-led Boston Celtics, but like a Brad Stevens-led Boston Celtics. I think when you have that, it's more no matter who's in there, they're going to have a shot, I think.
Yeah, I guess if we're like recalibrating the expectations, it's all gravy from here. Because like you said, it's just this is essentially the best training sim you can get for your young core going forward. But it is slightly disappointing because, as we've been saying all year, like, when is the East going to be this soft? Like, we're at the point where we're resigning to the fact that the Cavs are probably going to win again simply because they have LeBron, and that's enough when the Raptors have looked a little shaky, when the Sixers have lost Joel Embiid.
So we're getting some questions, and Bennett Barber from Periscope asks, if the Raptors don't make the finals, this is now a monumental failure. This is kind of the trickle-down effect of this, right? Because now this changes the opportunity for a couple of teams. This puts a little bit more pressure on some of the teams. There's no excuses. There's no, man, we got into a game 6 and Kyrie just took us apart, and it's not going to happen. You know, the Raptors, the Cavs, dare I say the Sixers, should all expect to at least, I think the first 2 teams should expect to beat Boston. And I think the Sixers could go toe-to-toe with the Celtics team. So how does this change what the outlook is for a team like the Raptors, who beat the Celtics last night on Wednesday?
I think for the Raptors, it doesn't change it a lot because their nemesis, if you will, is not the Celtics. It's, the Cavs. And I think if you were to put them up against any team, Celtics, Heat, Wizards, all those teams kind of in the bottom half of the East, the Raptors should win that series no matter what. I think what they're shooting for is against the Cavs in the conference finals, and I think it would be a huge disappointment. But at the same time, I had this realization the other night while watching the Cavs play the Raptors. Like, when LeBron turns it on and we're getting to that point in time, it's like we're gonna get chalked. Like, it's just like I have no faith in the Raptors as much as I want to believe in how their system changing and all that I still think that I would put my money on the Cavs right now.
I mean, we talk about the window pretty much every couple of weeks here, especially in the East, and you look at who they will be up against, the Raptors, in the next couple of years. All of these teams potentially could get better. Like the Cavs, even, they will have this Brooklyn pick coming to them, and either they'll get the pick from that or they'll be able to swing that into another guy. Like the Pacers have an opportunity to add another guy next to Oladipo. It might be a little bit more interesting. The Celtics, as we just mentioned, if Kyrie's healthy, and even if he's not, they have Gordon Hayward and more coming. So it's really on the Raptors at this point to kind of figure out their whole playoff mess and to kind of put this thing together.
Hashtag Ringer NBA if you guys have questions. I'm looking at the standings right now, and this 7 seed becomes incredibly valuable. Like, let's just say you like your chances against a Boston team that is led by Jalen, Jason, and Horford, and maybe a returning Marcus Smart, whatever. The Heat and Wizards. I mean, the difference between playing LeBron in the first round and playing Kadeem Allen in the first round is pretty big.
To shuffle back into that.
Well, that's the thing, is that, like, I'm very curious about whether or not do you try to, like, land on a dime there, or do you just say, 100%. Hey, we're going to go through the rest of our season, and if we have to play LeBron, we have to play LeBron. You got to go through him in the first place. If I'm Washington and I get the Celtics in the first round and we win that, I mean, that's a good season all of a sudden for a Washington team that's been really up and down and has been a couple of different versions of itself this season.
I think you 100% try to, like, if you can jockey back into the 7 seed, you do it. For the Heat, I think it's going to be a little tough because they hold the tiebreaker, I believe, over both the Wizards and the Bucks, and they're a half game up on both of them, if I'm correct on this. So they're going to have to lose a couple games to get back into that 7 seed if that's what they want to do.
Right, and the Wizards, I wonder how much they're going to have to balance just figuring out their team before the playoffs with John Wall back in there.
Yeah, and by the way, for anybody who's wondering whether or not there is any will he or won't he, like, Willis Reed limping back onto the court going on, Irving will undergo surgery on Saturday and need 4 to 5 months of recovery.
Wow.
So this is
long.
This is through the summer now. So they'll be getting Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving back for camp, hopefully, but do not expect any Kyrie coming out there and chucking up shots.
You're going to be seeing a lot of Gordon Hayward jogging videos over the next couple of weeks to
don't do that to yourself, Boston fans. Trust me. As someone who's very familiar with watching Joel Embiid, like, going one-on-one with, like, a trainer for a year, don't do that to yourself.
Grainy videos from Qatar.
Okay, so we were just talking about the Wizards and the Heat who do you think Boston would have a better chance against there?
Probably the Heat.
Yeah.
I mean, the Wizards just have a top end, and they also have like the whole retribution thing going on from last year.
That's
and
such a weak sauce funeral
know.
game now. What, are the Wizards going to wear all black
And Shane
when
Larkin.
they bury Jaylen Brown?
Stick to your bit.
Yeah.
You know? Stick
Yeah,
to
you
your
got
guns
it.
there.
You got it.
I think I am. If I'm the Celtics, I'm a little more afraid of the Heat. I think they're scrappy. I think like any night, any guy can beat you with 20, 30 points, whatever. And I think the Wizards, I'm still not sure what they are because of just the fluctuation between the injuries and all that. Like the Heat have a really good bench. If depending on how Whiteside plays, they have a really good player playing center and playing rim protector. If he does play to that level, so I think there's really no good scenario here. I think with either team, just because you're just so injured if you're the Celtics. But I would say I would try to play the Wizards, not the Heat.
Are we ready to talk about the Sixers yet?
Yeah,
I
let's
just,
do it.
I just want to fast forward.
Yeah,
to
let's do it. Let's talk about the Sixers. This was basically we were about to go live. We were about to do the podcast, and we decided to go live to talk about Kyrie. But one of the first things we wanted to talk about were the hottest team in the league. And I would say the best team in the league since March 1st, which is the Philadelphia 76ers. This is not a bit. I'm not high on the process.
Propaganda.
I'm just reporting, man.
Right.
I'm just reporting the facts.
Noted
Speaking the
journalist.
truth.
I'm
Chris
Nora
Ryan.
O'Donnell. So, 12 straight wins, most wins for this in a season for the team since 2002, 2003. Best net rating in the NBA since March 1st. Number 2 in offense, number 4 in defense since March 1st. Ben Simmons has won the Rookie of the Year over the last 10 days. Sorry, Donovan Mitchell fans. They can win through adversity. Like they've missed Embiid for the last week or so. They've missed Sarge from the last 2 days with an elbow thing.
Markelle Fultz took a 3 last night.
And it
Off the
didn't.
front rim.
It looked like it could go in for a second. And you know who was taking threes at like a very nice clip and making them? One of the best Ringer employees out there, JJ
Oh,
Redick.
yeah.
My favorite.
He's on his most field goal attempts per game in his career right now. They are getting high usage rate JJ Redick. He was really hot against Detroit last night. What is the ceiling for the Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid in a face mask?
In a face mask. Okay. I'm going to say they are in the conference finals against the Cavs playing in game 6. I think that's like playing game 5 or 6, getting to that point and being one of those teams where like, okay, we know who you are. We know how good you are, even though we've seen it throughout the regular season. Next season it's going to be like the year where you're going to scare everybody and possibly, make a run for it.
Okay.
I think that's where I see them.
Okay.
I mean, the reason why I wanted to jump to this segment is I think it jives with what we were just talking about there. Let's say.
I love you. You're like my favorite.
Oh my God.
Okay.
You're totally my favorite.
I appreciate
Trying
that.
to be
Right back
reasonable
at you,
over
buddy.
here.
If they jump to the 3 seed and the Cavs slide to 4, then you're looking at potentially a second round series against, let's say, the Boston Celtics or the Washington Wizards, or whoever that beat the Celtics. All of a sudden, maybe you're looking at conference finals Philadelphia 76ers, and at that point, let's say they
Who knows?
Why not us?
they have a little confidence. Joel Embiid is playing
Did
like
you think Nick
Kano.
Foles was going to win the Super Bowl? Did you think Villanova was going to win the tournament?
They are having a moment.
Look, you know what? The thing that's really impressive right now is that you just play who you have in front of you. This 12-game win streak is littered with some of the basement teams of the NBA. But as like Memphis Memphis beat Portland the other night. Like these teams are randomly getting victories here and there. You beat who's in front of you, and the Sixers are beating them like pretty. Like they're like pushing them aside, and it's not like they're pushing them aside and they're the Rockets and they're just like raining threes on dude. They are like a muscular, switchy defensive team. I don't think nobody still understands how to play Ben Simmons. I don't even understand how you would even go about doing that. I don't know who you put on Ben Simmons on the perimeter. You cannot guard him with that same person if he decides to get to the rim. And their shooters are shooting right now. And they've got Bellinelli and they got Ilyasova, and they're dangerous. They are a dangerous team, and they have nothing to lose.
Simmons is unreal to me because I think, Danny had the great piece a few weeks ago where he talked about watching him and his impact, and it's just like amazing. I was looking at some of the numbers, and he's only scored single digits 8 times this season, and even in those games where he hasn't impacted them on the board, they're 7-1. So he's like impacted them in other ways. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think also just the way he plays, where he's kind of like a back to the basket point guard in a weird way, because he does this like weird shift move that kind of throws, and it goes back to what you were saying, like nobody can guard him because they haven't seen a ball handler who does these type of things, and it's really remarkable to watch.
I wonder if I'm sure that SportsView does this, or there's something that does track this, but one of my favorite things to watch, especially if you just go on YouTube and watch like Ben Simmons highlights from a particular game, which are usually like 7 or 8 minutes, is a heat map of where he passes from. Because Ben Simmons is like, not since Jason Kidd have I seen someone who passes from farther away from the action. He routinely will be dribbling and be behind the center circle of like in his half of the court, but moving into the second half, and will just one arm whip it to a guy on the wing, or find somebody who's like doing a secondary break cut towards the hoop. They are able to like expand the court in a way that makes up for a lot of their shooting deficiencies from the guard position that they do still have, you know?
Right, because the tough part about guarding him is you want to, as Paulo was suggesting, back up from him, give him the space to shoot, but now he has more room to see, to orchestrate. And if you're giving him a head of steam, that's like kind of the worst thing to happen, because he could control his like huge body
And
so
that's the
well.
thing is, how do you not give him a head of steam?
Right.
I mean, like it's not you can't put the point guard or the shooting guard on Ben Simmons, because he just is going to see over them pretty much.
It really comes down to, and not to go all Mike Lupica on everyone, but
Do it. I love Mike Lupica.
well, just wait to get to the point here, because it comes down to like the old adage of playoff experience.
Yes,
like how much
yes,
do you actually need? And if they were to make the finals, let's say,
Wow.
I mean, is it unprecedented for one rookie of the year and another guy who's basically in his extended rookie season
Yes.
based on games played,
Right.
leading them to that?
That would be unprecedented. I don't think that. I think that there are a couple of things that are still true about playoff basketball, about distances. I mean, one of the things when you watch Simmons and when you watch them play against these bad teams is there's just a lack of defensive intensity among these bad teams that I just think is not going to be the case, especially even for guys like Redick, guys like Bellinelli who come off screens and do catch and shoots. They're just not going to get do their little weaves through the court as easy in the postseason. We have a couple of questions coming in through social media. Drew on Periscope, would you say the Sixers have a better future than the Celtics? I think that the Sixers have like a higher top. Like the Embiid Simmons thing could be 2 generational players, which is basically that's why you play the Game of Thrones, you know?
Right.
The Celtics have A, way more depth, and B, have shown the ability to make the right decisions about personnel in terms of getting a guy like Jason Tatum, getting a guy like Jaylen Brown, finding people like Rozier and Larkin who can fit your system, getting Baines, getting Daniel Theis, like these guys where it's just like, I didn't see it. You know, maybe 3 GMs in the league would have seen a move like that, but Danny makes that happen. And they have contributions coming from other places. And let's say they come into next season, Kyrie's healthy, Gordon Hayward's healthy, Al Horford's healthy. That's 3 All-Stars. So they just have 3 All-Stars, 2 of which are in their prime. Injuries aside, I think the Celtics have like a better immediate future. The Sixers could be better than the Celtics in 4 or 5 years, I think.
I think at the beginning of the season, I think we were talking about what rivalries are we excited for, you know, in the next year and the next few years. And I think I remember saying Sixers Celtics, and it's kind of specifically for this reason, because there are going to be such interesting not polar, but just juxtaposed cases going forward where you're banking on a transcendent coach, if that's what you consider Brad Stevens to be, or transcendent talent in Simmons and Embiid. And that's just such an interesting difference in approach, and I think that's going to be fascinating.
They're 2 sides of the same coin. What's impressed me a lot about the Sixers from a completely sincere standpoint is especially over this 12-game stretch, their ability to sort of not be blown away by the moment. There's not like this isn't like, who can believe this? This is great. Like, we're so psyched. They're just like, yeah, like we're playing for the playoffs.
Right.
We're trying to win every game we play. And they have, according to 538, O'Hanlon just slacked this to me, a 1-in-5 shot at going to the finals. I mean, it's a big moment for them, but I think they're playing within themselves. And on the flip side, this is going to be a test for the Celtics to kind of deal with a season where they had a lot of momentum in the beginning part of the season. They had a win streak. They had a lot of people talking about them as this was their to go to the finals. Could Gordon Hayward come back if they were going to make a deep playoff run? And they're going to have to adjust to, okay, like we're taking a step down for a second. You know, let's have a good showing in the postseason and let's get ready for next season. A couple other questions from social media. John Lucas Duffy wants to know if the Cavs don't make the finals, LeBron is a lock to leave Cleveland, right?
Maybe. I guess it depends on the other options on the board there. I mean, we were talking about the Lakers last night during the Spurs game, and there are times where the Lakers look scrappy. You give them LeBron and Paul George, and all of a sudden that team could be competitive in the West. But as we were just talking about, the East isn't going to be on the same level as the West going forward. And if LeBron is just looking at the board there, like, maybe he can carve out a legacy by winning in the West, but he can keep racking up finals in the East. And I wonder if that means more to him.
Yeah.
I think he stays in the East no matter what for at least one more year, and that's probably means he'll just come back to Cleveland.
I think he's going to stay in Cleveland for at least another year. I wouldn't be surprised if he does another 1-1. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the video portion of this. For everybody who's concerned about Bill Simmons, don't be. He's at Augusta. So, I mean, life's been pretty sweet. We're going to wrap up the video part of this. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sending your questions. You can listen to this entire podcast. We're going to talk about some of the lottery-bound teams, and we are going to talk a little bit about this wild Western Conference playoff seeding situation. You can catch that on the Ringer NBA show. In just a little bit, it'll be up on iTunes, wherever you get podcasts. We're going to get back into the podcast in just 1 minute.
Basketball is very good. Basketball is very good.